Destiny's brand of egoism is based upon laziness, from a fellow egoist. What is egoism? The Google definition of egoism is that it is an ethical theory that treats self-interest as the foundation of morality. The definition that we have been going with on stream in general has been that essentially it means that one doesn't care about morality, they care about themselves and their own self-interest. Most people have been arguing with Destiny that he should not be an egoist, and that he should have morals. I, on the other hand, am an egoist, and have been for some time. I don't know if I would have necessarily called myself one, but I now, from listening to the conversations, I would consider myself an egoist, and I have been for a long time. I do not care about morals. I only care about my own self-interest. I only care about myself. And yet, I am a vegan. How can this be? Well, that's what I'm going to explain. Partially that's what I'm going to explain, because this video is not an argument for veganism. Rather, this is an argument for a more rational form of egoism, in which my self-interest is far better served than in Destiny's lazier brand of egoism. Veganism is only a natural consequence of my superior brand of egoism. Interestingly, I would refer to it as a negative consequence. More on that later. I will call my brand of egoism compassionate egoism, and I will call Destiny's brand of egoism uncompassionate egoism. This is the argument that love and compassion are net positives on a person's life, and if one truly is self-interested, they should be loving and compassionate. There are negative consequences of love and compassion, such as veganism. However, there are positive consequences of love and compassion, which I will argue greatly outweigh the negative. The second part of this argument, which is not a part of this video, mostly because of time, is that one can train themselves to be more loving and compassionate. So what? If it's better to be loving and compassionate, is that something you can really change? That is something that it could be argued another time. I am following the script just because last time I made this video was 30 minutes long, so I am going to try and follow my script more closely. But the main thing is that when someone says that they are not compassionate, and we do tend to say, oh my god, that's so cool, they were like House from House, or they're like that really tough rogue anime character. Ooh, this guy doesn't have any feelings, how cool. On one hand, it is cool, maybe, but they don't experience as much happiness as they would if they were more loving and compassionate. Obviously, depending on the situation, and sometimes in anime. We'll get into more of that later. I am going to show that love and compassion is a net benefit to one's self-interest. The analogy which I will draw here is that compassionate egoism is like going to the gym and eating well. Uncompassionate egoism is like not exercising and eating whatever you want. And it is not a perfect analogy because it does not take into account the fact that by going to the gym and eating well, you do have a longer life expectancy. But I think you would argue, let's say by not going to the gym, or by going to the gym and eating well and not exercising and eating whatever you want, you still live the exact same amount of time. I think one would still argue that going to the gym and eating well is better for you, that people who do this are happier than people who do this in general. Although I could be wrong with that specifically, maybe in this specific food and exercise analogy, that particular is incorrect, but that's analogous to what I'm saying. It is analogous to saying that people that go to the gym and eat well are happier than those who don't exercise and eat whatever they want. This is the setup. Okay, this analogy might not be perfect, but that's the general idea of what I'm going for here. This is the setup problem, just to isolate the variables. Just listen to this here, and then that should explain the whole thing. You are in front of an unopenable death machine. Inside the machine is an animal/person. You do not know this animal/person in any way, and they are not related to you. That animal/person will absolutely die in exactly 10 years. The machine has no windows, no doors, and is 100% soundproof. What happens inside this machine is completely isolated from the outside world. After the 10 years, when the animal/person is killed, the machine/person will be immediately, automatically thrown into a black hole, so nobody can ever know what happened in it. You are in another unopenable, unknowable, etc. room just outside of the machine. You are trapped inside that room until you press one of two buttons. Once you press a button, a door opens and you can leave and go home with no problems, no matter what button you press. You do have to press a button to leave though, and nobody can and will ever know which button you pressed. Here are the buttons. Press button number 1. The animal/person is tortured mercilessly for the 10 years, and you will receive $1 or some very small reward. Press button number 2. The animal/person remains reasonably cozy for 10 years, and you receive nothing. This is a negative consequence of love and compassion, and this is a mistake in the argument which I've sent to Destiny earlier. I've sent this to him, and then I said, hey, you should always pick button number 2 and not torture the animal. But really speaking, if this was all there was to the world, then uncompassionate egoism is the way to go. My outcome in this scenario, by picking button number 2, has been a net neutral. I have not gained or lost anything in this situation. However, the uncompassionate egoist has left this situation with $1. So I have lost here. Similarly, there are situations in the real world in which an uncompassionate egoist can take advantage of others for their own personal gain. By being a compassionate egoist, I have lost out on this opportunity. That is a very real problem. That is why when I sent this to Destiny, I didn't have my thoughts on this completely thought out at the time. I had them reasonably thought out, but not completely. I shouldn't have sent this incomplete problem here. Interestingly, by the way, when I first sent this to Destiny, this was a while ago when he was first starting into vegan conversations, he said he would press button number 1 for an animal and button number 2 for a human. Whereas now I believe he has revised his thoughts on the argument, so he would press button number 1 for both an animal and a human. So it's interesting how this position from Destiny's has actually changed in the last little bit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying it's an interesting change in how Destiny's egoism has developed. I don't know if you necessarily even would have called himself an egoist before. He's kind of new to egoism, which I think is interesting. Oh, I shouldn't have scrolled down already. However, the compassionate egoist has the opportunity to take advantage of button number 3, which yields significantly more happiness for me than button number 1 yields for the uncompassionate egoist, button number 3. The animal/person receives euphoric bliss for 10 years, and you lose $1, or have some small form of punishment like your finger is pricked or something like that. I got so much value out of that $1, more than I could have gotten out of anything else. For the next 10 years, I will get so much joy knowing that somewhere out there, this animal/person is living in such bliss. Every now and then, I will think about that animal/person, and I will feel good. I get to feel good knowing that the animal/person feels good. An uncompassionate egoist does not have the ability to do so. By getting that $1, the uncompassionate egoist receives, let's say, 1 out of 100 units of happiness, whatever that means. Whereas by picking button number 3, I receive 10 out of 100 units of happiness. I get so much happier than the uncompassionate egoist gets out of the $1. The problem is, and this is why this is incomplete and there is more to this, is that the above problem is not really made to scale. You can't really give anybody euphoric bliss for $1, and you can get far more than $1 by taking advantage of other people. What are the numbers in the real world? We live in a society, pardon the meme. We live in the West. We live in the United States of America. We live in Canada. We live in Europe, etc. And we live in the 21st century. We have the opportunity to take advantage of things like gift giving. And this is where I'm going to pull up my first little study here. Spending money on others promotes happiness. I cannot read this as a Destiny. That's why I have a script, and that's why I'm just going by the script and reading it. So I'm not going to read the whole abstract, but the rest of it says the same thing. The last part's the main thing I'm just going to read. Finally, participants who are randomly assigned to spend money on others experience greater happiness than those assigned to spend money on themselves. What this basically means is that both people have the opportunity to spend $1,000 on themselves, and let's say they would get 10 out of 100 units of happiness. However, the compassionate egoist has the opportunity to spend $1,000 on someone else, and they would gain 15 or 20 units of happiness out of this situation. With that $1,000, they are capable of gaining more happiness than an uncompassionate egoist. And they are, if they really want to. Let's say there is something in which they could get so much happiness out of this. Of course, a compassionate egoist isn't just self-sacrificing constantly. There is a balance to be struck there. They could spend money on themselves if they want to, if they're going to get more happiness out of it. However, the compassionate egoist has the option of both spending on others for happiness or spending on themselves for happiness. Obviously, in this study, they didn't have the option, but the point is that having that option is a positive thing for a compassionate egoist. Pleasure of gift giving, the pleasure of love. This is something which, I mean, we all have seen movies and TV that explains all of this. I really should have written this part down. I hope I don't take too long talking about this. I'm trying to keep this video short as possible. The feeling of knowing that someone you love is happy is such an amazing feeling that I think we've all gotten to appreciate at times, even if we're not with them. This is something when I talked about this with Destiny before. If someone you love, you're never going to see them again, but you could pay $1 to give them happiness. Would you do so? And even if you're never going to see them, I don't remember if I got a good answer to that, but really speaking, the answer should be yes, because you do get happiness out of knowing that that person is happy. That is true. You do get happiness out of that. And in the case of love, that is extreme, extreme happiness. And the more people you love, the more deep your love for them, the more happiness you can get out of knowing that they are happy. But if we lived in a different society in which we can take advantage of others, in which people are in pain. Let's say we lived in, for example, I don't know the exact specifics of what's going on in North Korea and all that, but let's say we lived in North Korea and people are enslaved, people are suffering constantly, our family is being tortured, there is all kinds of pain going on, everyone around us is just in pain and miserable. What kind of gift are you going to give to someone? Are you going to give them a rock or something like that? I don't want to stereotype what's going on in North Korea and all that. I'm sure it may or may not be as bad as I'm portraying. That's the media portrayal which I've gotten into so far. However, as I said, we live in USA, we live in Canada, we live in Europe. We have things that stop us from taking advantage of the pain of others for our own gain. For example, we have laws against things like stealing. Laws is basically the main thing that we have. We have laws against stealing. I don't have the opportunity to take someone else's $100 to get my own $100. Maybe in some specific scenarios, but that is a way in which an uncompassionate egoist could be taking advantage of the world that they do no longer have the opportunity to. Something like sexual assault. An uncompassionate egoist may want to take advantage of someone for sexual pleasure. However, because we have laws in our society, which is very good, and obviously these are more than just in Canada, USA, and Europe, but I think these laws in general are stronger in Canada, USA. These also apply in China, India, etc., Russia even to some extent, and all that stuff. In general, yeah. General assault for revenge, if we're mad. If someone cuts us off in traffic, the uncompassionate egoist can just kill them because they're really mad, and then they get some pleasure out of that in the short term. And maybe that is some pleasure that the compassionate egoist misses out on because they actually care about that person to some extent, to the point that where they wouldn't kill them. However, the uncompassionate egoist isn't able to take advantage of these things anyways because of laws. Our society prevents the uncompassionate egoist from being able to take advantage of their uncompassionate egoism. However, same thing goes with murder. Let's say there's someone who's at your job and you could get a promotion by killing the guy who's out for your job. You aren't an uncompassionate egoist might do that. However, they don't have the opportunity to do that because of the laws. So many of the ways in which an uncompassionate egoist can take advantage of other people have been destroyed because of the laws. I don't want to say that too many times. All right, let me move on. In what way do we benefit from the pain of others / lose out if we are loving and compassionate for others? Okay, yeah, so these are ways in which taking advantage of others is allowed by our society. And these are, as I said, there are negatives to being a compassionate egoist and there are benefits to being an uncompassionate egoist. For example, animal food. By being a compassionate egoist, I lose out on the delicious burger. I lose on the delicious chicken or whatever it is. Vegan food does taste very good. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it'd be nice to have that option too. You lose out, if we lived in a vegan society, you lose out on animal testing for products and things like that. And by the way, in my forms of egoism, let me scroll up a little bit. In my form of compassionate egoism, you have to consider that there is a scale to it. I'm not saying as a compassionate egoist, I would never cause someone else pain for something. For example, if I can test a bunch of stuff on a bunch of animals, and in return I get the cure for cancer, I mean, I'm not saying I don't value humans at all, let me try and phrase this. Like, for example, to save my family, would I torture a cat? Absolutely. To save their life or something like that, I would, for sure. It's not as if I am completely against taking advantage of others entirely. I am just saying that there's a positive and negative to it, and maybe I don't get to take advantage of it as much. I'm not articulate about this. I really should have written this down. That's why I needed this. That's why I needed the script, because it takes me too long to articulate things if I don't have the script. I can say it, but yeah. Anyways, when loved ones die, an uncompassionate egoist doesn't have as many loved ones, and they don't care about them as much, so they don't have as much sadness as when loved ones die, and that sucks. And feeling bad when people are mean to you, that also sucks. That's actually something when I emailed Destiny about this, he referenced this too. What if I'll feel worse when people are mean to me? Well, yes, that is a factor, although I would question whether or not that actually has to do with how compassionate or uncompassionate you are, as just about your ego yourself, but that's another story. The point is, there are, yes, negative consequences to being a compassionate egoist, to being compassionate in general. There are negative consequences, definitely. However, I believe these are greatly outweighed by the positive consequences. Gift giving, I already mentioned. Charity. I can get more out of the $1,000. I get more happiness, at least I believe I do. I get more happiness out of giving. Not my whole life savings. There is a point of diminishing returns or whatever it is. I don't know. I believe that's the expression to use in the case. I don't know if that exactly applies here. But it's a similar concept. Point of diminishing returns about giving charitable donations to other people. There is friendship. There is mutual compassion. By showing compassion to someone else, they will show compassion to you. You could argue that by being an uncompassionate egoist, you could fake the compassion and get compassion out of others. Maybe. But that mutual compassion, me being compassionate for a friend and knowing that they are compassionate for me, that feels very good. The same thing goes for love. When Destiny's famous "For Me Personally" post thing, where he talks about how why he had to end his relationships with that, he felt that he is not able to feel the proper love that he could to be in a proper relationship. That mutual love is something that if you are truly an uncompassionate egoist, you really do lose out on that love. The ability to truly value someone's else's happiness, to have someone who you would put into this chamber here and press button number 3 for, that is a negative thing to not have that someone in your life. That's someone who you can love them and feel good when they are happy. This is a little bit more subtle, the compelling this to act. I don't even know why I had this in this. Really speaking, it's because if you care about others, if you have something more than just yourself to care about, that could be a motivation to just do things in general, a motivation to get up every day and to do things because you care about others. And that's, for example, if you have a family to take care of, you've heard people say, I don't know, I didn't even have a reason to live before my family came around, and then I had my family to get up and go for. That more applies to people with mental illness, but that's a factor. Enjoying someone's company is so much better when you love them, and building a family, building a network of people who you love, and you can feel good when they are happy. Celebrating sporting events, you feel good when others are happy around you. This guy around me is happy that our team won. I'm happy that everyone around me is happy that our team won. That's good. Appreciating art, TV, movies, even negative emotions can feel good because of the strong emotions. Feeling those emotions, feeling for others, feels so good. Feeling good when others say nice things to you. That's actually one thing. Compliments from others, even fake compliments from others. I feel good about fake compliments from others. Do you know why? Because a fake compliment from someone else means that they wanted to make me feel good. And the fact that they wanted to make me feel good makes me feel good. Do you know what I mean? And how many fake compliments do we all receive in the world? Again, in our society, there are so many ways. We live in a society where people are generally good. And that tends to be because we, how do I put this? We want to build a society in which others are compassionate. I believe that makes sense. I think we would all agree that if other people care to, even if you are an uncompassionate egoist, you would want to live in a society of a bunch of compassionate people. Because all those compassionate people will at least care about you. You want other people to care about your well-being. You want other people to not take advantage of you for money. You want other people to want to spend money for you. And to that end, that is how we've designed our society. We've designed our society to be one in which we have opportunities to get happiness from giving to others. Oh my god, this video is already getting too long. We're already getting to 20 minutes. I'm just going to stick to the script at this point. To sum up, this is not black and white. There may be some people in extreme situations where being more loving and compassionate is a negative for them. There's so much pain and anguish all around them, and no family and friends for them, so to just be numb to it all is the best strategy. None of us are in that position. I don't know too much about Destiny's history and all that as far as why he's formed his brand of egoism. I know he's had some fucked up family life and all that stuff before. So maybe you could argue, maybe if someone really, maybe, I don't know how shitty his situation and all that, maybe just as a coping mechanism, I don't want to say it's a coping mechanism, that kind of diminishes it, that's kind of condescending, but you know, if your situation really is so shitty, you don't have family, you don't have friends, if your family and friends just aren't around you just don't have any of that anymore. I know his friend killed himself, so his parents leave him or something like that. Then maybe in those situations, then it may benefit to not be compassionate. But I definitely don't think he's in that situation anymore. So it's definitely not in his self-interest to do it that way. We are surrounded by so many opportunities to gain from love and compassion. We are so well sheltered from the negative consequences of love and compassion. Our society is such a sheltered one. If that does or doesn't lead you to becoming a vegan, fine, that's not the point. It would be nice for me to not have to be a vegan. And there was a time when I wasn't a vegan. I wasn't a good enough person at the time until, I would say, roughly about a year ago. Is when I went back. I was vegetarian before. I stopped for a while because of there were some things going on in my life. I improved my life, and now I'm a vegan. Because I have the opportunity to. My life is good enough. I'm a better enough person that I can become a vegan. And that is the price I have to pay for being such a better person, is that I have to be a vegan at that time. At the end of the day, our feelings are everything that matter. That's something Destiny had in the conversation with the other guy. It's not, survival is not the be-all, end-all. It's how we feel during that time. That is the thing. And compassion and love are those good feelings. One way to increase, this is a part of the whole laziness and the gym analogy. One way to increase our happiness is to mold the world around us to benefit our current feelings, to optimize the physical world to the way that we feel the best. However, is this laziness? Is this just like taking the elevator every day to get upstairs? Again, ignoring the fact that you may not live longer if you're not in better shape. A better way, I believe, to increase your happiness is to mold your minds in our feelings so that we can better appreciate the world around us. Take the stairs every day. Become a better person that can appreciate the things around you. That individual day, listen, being a compassionate person might not be good every day. Some days you have to eat the vegan food. You don't have the opportunities to give a gift. You don't have the opportunities for the love or whatever on you. That first gift you give, maybe it doesn't feel as good. It's like taking the stairs. It's like going to the gym. It may not feel that good at first, but it is a skill that you train and you practice and you get better at it, and then you become a happier, more self-interest, better person. I'm saying that you can do both. However, I believe we should do more of this number 2 of molding our feelings than we currently do. I'm really rambling for way too long. I'm sorry, I went off script too much. I wanted to not go off script because I know it's going to make me talk way too much, because this is a topic you can go on for forever about. To sum up, I feel happy knowing that someone else is watching this video and hopefully becomes happier because of it. And even if you felt mad watching this video, well, at least you felt something. And I know there's actually an interesting CGP grade video about how feeling mad is actually like a really addicting feeling. And I'm happy for you that you got to feel that feeling. If you want more videos, anybody, let me know. Yeah. Anyways, so thanks a lot for watching the video. I don't even know what my name's going to be. But yeah, thanks for watching.